Wine was reading a novel calmly in her room with her roommate Sarah, who suddenly got up to get water from downstairs. Wine was waiting for her to come back, but then the room of her door burst open. She was thinking about Sarah, but she saw someone else. Wine's heart raced as Jungkook burst into her room, his eyes dark, sparkling with mischief. She had been trying to read. Looking at him, she knew she was in trouble. He kept looking at her for long minutes without saying anything, while she was shocked about the fact that how did he even enter the girls' hostel this late at night. Jungkook and Wine heard someone coming towards the room, so before they could enter, Jungkook went to the door and locked it. Wine's heart pounded in her chest. What do you want, Jungkook? Wine asked, trying to sound annoyed, but her voice came out shaky. Jungkook grinned, his eyes crinkling at the corners. I just wanted to see my favorite girl, he said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. As if Wine rolled her eyes while saying that and got up when she heard someone knocking on the door. She knew it must be Sarah. Wine. Just get out of here. Sarah must be waiting. She went towards the door. She was going towards the door, but Jungkook held her wrist and pinned her to the wall. Her eyes widened and his hands went to the sides of her head. Wine. What the hell are you doing? Sarah. Wine. What's happening? Open the door. She knocked again. Wine wanted to open the door, but Jungkook's eyes were constantly devouring her soul. Jungkook. Tell her that you are changing, and it's going to take time. Jungkook's husky voice in her ears sent shivers in her spine. Wine. Why should I say that? I should better ask her to call the guards. Jungkook. Why? You're that afraid of me? He said, coming more closer to her. Talk about fear. Wine scoffed. I just want to show you your place. Jungkook. And why is that? Wine. You still have the guts to ask me that. You just barged inside the girls' hostel into my room this late at night, pinned me in front of you, and you're asking me? Jungkook grinned. So you admit my guts. You're crazy, she said and pushed him away, trying to get to the door once again. But Jungkook leaned against the wall and pulled her towards himself from her waist this time. Wine's breath stuck in her throat. Her eyes widened, getting lost in his eyes as she lost the track of time. Her heart was beating loudly, in sync with Jungkook's, and for a moment she was lost in his eyes without realizing where she was. Sarah. That's it, Wine. I'm going to ask for Master Key. And suddenly it was all silent against their heartbeats. Earlier, Wine would probably get a panic attack hearing Sarah getting a Master Key. But at the moment, she didn't even flinch. Some hours ago, Jungkook saw Wine talking to some other boy, and he literally took her to the cafe. Jungkook followed them and saw that boy ordering food for her. They ate together, laughed with each other, and then, right in front of Jungkook's eyes, Wine wiped the drop of food which was left at his mouth. Jungkook looked at them, his fists clenched, and he went away because he didn't want to embarrass her in front of everyone. He decided to talk to her alone, but to his amusement, they both were just close friends. Jungkook looked at Wine, who was in her embrace, and said, I told you you were mine. Then why the hell do you hang out with other boys? He said, vulnerability evident in his eyes. Wine tried to think what he was trying to say. After realizing that he must have seen her in the morning, she said, but I never said about anything about being yours. Jungkook loves to tease her all day, ever since she came to the school. He liked to see her smile, annoyed, and taking her anger out on him. But before he knew, he was in love, and he did confess her once about it, but Wine told him that she wasn't sure. She never thought about him like that before that day. But as time passed and Jungkook kept making moves on her, she found out that she was also in love with him. But she still calls him her enemy because of how much he teases her. Right now, she was just playing hard to get. Jungkook chuckled, his eyes glinting with amusement. Then I will do something that will make you mine, without you agreeing to it. Wine's heart skipped a beat as Jungkook took a step closer. His eyes locked on hers. She knew she should be getting away from him, but her body was betraying her, and she couldn't help but feel a flutter in her chest. And then, without warning, Jungkook's lips crashed down on hers, silencing her protests. Wine's mind raced as she tried to process what was happening. She had been so caught up in her anger and frustration with Jungkook's teasing that she hadn't seen this coming. But as his lips moved against hers, she felt a spark of electricity that she couldn't ignore. Jungkook's kiss was gentle, yet deep, and Wine found herself melting into it. She had always thought of Jungkook as a nuisance, but in that moment, she realized that her feelings for him went far beyond annoyance. As they broke apart, gasping for air, Wine's eyes locked onto Jungkook's, and she saw something there that she had never seen before, a deep, abiding love. Jungkook, she whispered, her voice barely audible. I know, Wine, he replied, his voice low and husky. I've been waiting for you to see it for so long. Her heart raced, and she couldn't think about anything else at the moment. She saw the love in his eyes, the passion in his kiss, and the honesty in his voice. She knew he was the one and only for her. She raised her heels, and her lips met Jungkook's with the same passion as his. Jungkook was shocked at first, but at the end he knew this was going to happen. Nobody can resist him after all. Jungkook's arms wrapped around her, pulling her close as they lost themselves in the moment. Meanwhile, they heard Sarah outside. She isn't even replying me. I'm afraid something happened to her. The sound panicked her. She pulled Jungkook away as they heard the clattering of keys outside. Fine. Run right now. Jungkook held her and looked in her eyes with serious expressions. Don't hang out with other boys. You're officially mine now. Before Vine could reply, the door opened and she looked behind in shock. Then she looked at Jungkook, but he was nowhere to be seen. The window was open and the curtains flying. She took a sigh. Sarah, why the hell were you not opening the door? Vine, I was sleeping very deeply and passionately. She blushed while Sarah looked at her with confusion.